Salt on her lip, lies at the pass. Kitchens don't sleep. They change their heat. When the last reservation pays and the last busser stacks the final chair on its twin, the room switches languages. Day speaks in ticket chatter and the wet applause of dish pits, in the laughter of servers who know your secrets but won't tell them for free. Night speaks in pilot lights counting to themselves, in the slow hiss of a stock that refuses to give up, in steel that cools like a body remembering solitude. If you've never stood at a quiet pass at 2 in the morning with the heat lamps off, and your reflection laid thin as oil across a sheet pan, you don't know how a city can fold itself into stainless steel and wait. I'm Marco, executive chef at Etta, the kind of downtown room that pretends it invented restraint and bills you for velvet. On my coat, my name black on black so only people who need it can see it. On my belt, a thermometer with opinions, a key ring that persuades ovens to behave, a small blade I use to free stubborn twine from roasts and men from pretense. I can tell from the sound a sauté pan makes when it hits flame whether the cook believes in butter or fear. I know by the way a ticket is torn if a server is flirting or apologizing. I can feel in the skin of the room whether a diner at table 12 is about to confess something that isn't food. Camille, my wife, then curated the floor like it was her living room. Front of house director by title, conductor by temperament, she wore a narrow ribbon of silk tied inside her left wrist, dove gray and disobedient, a secret band my mouth could find if the building forgot its cameras. On Wednesdays, when our orbits permitted, she'd badge through the alley door, whisper past dry storage, and appear in the low-lit hush of the pass as if she had been poured there. She'd sit on the corner of the stainless counter, one heel pressing a familiar bruise into the rung of a stool, two fingers slipping under my apron belt to pluck a thread nobody else could see. I'd put my mouth in the little notch beneath her collarbone, where a voice chooses whether to be a welcome or a warning, and breathe until her shoulders change professions. We were careful. The security eye over walk-in one is a patient god. Tasting spoons keep lipstick longer than a promise. The first sign did not bang a pot. It shifted temperature. At 01:07 the digital logger on the walk-in recorded the door held 3S, no code. At 01:09 camera 3 over the alley blinked white and found itself again like an eye too close to a mirror. At 01:12 my inventory list put 2 champagne splits into a hole and returned 1 bottle of club soda like an alibi. At 01:16 I saw a plastic flute drying upside down by the mop sink with a precise ring of color on the rim, wintergreen red, peppermint with ambition. Camille lives in fig and smoke. Wintergreen belongs to someone who wants the camera to remember the kiss. 2 nights later, the same minute touched the back of my neck with a cold hand. Held. 4S the thermostat in the private dining alcove outside the kitchen showed a degree warmer without a staff code. On the mat near the alley door, a single sequin crouched in the salt crystals like a fallen star pretending to be garnish. Sequins don't live here. Our uniform is wool, cotton, stains we know the names of. I am not a cop. I direct heat and appetite, but I believe in traces. In a pastry bin, we keep a bottle of UV developer for the school tour that come through Sunday afternoons, the gentle reveal that makes them giggle when their soft hands glow. That night, I left 3 kisses the room wouldn't see until I asked it. A crescent smudge beneath the push bar of the walk-in, where an eager palm would lean. A whisper along the underside of the handrail that runs past dry storage to the private alcove, where donors flatter wood grain. A thin fan on the back edge of the screen that controls lighting zones, exactly where a thumb stops being polite. I put down, also, what pastry calls a sugar thread, a hair-thin drift of isomalt across the threshold to the little staff door that leads, unimportantly on paper and catastrophically in life, toward privacy. It would break without sound and curl like a dead moth if disturbed. Then I caught myself in the black glass of the salamander and smiled the way a man smiles who has decided which drawer of himself he will not open. Camille came later, mouth ambered, dress telling gravity it could have the evening back if it behaved. She took a sip of kitchen coffee, brown more than good, and set her palm on my sternum like she was checking a roast for finish. "Your room flirts," she said, not to me but to the empty pass where a heat lamp still remembered the shape of dinner. "It dreams," I said. "I give it lists until it sleeps." My hand found the side of her throat. Hello, not proof. Her shoulders softened the way a plan does when it stops performing and starts being real. "We should have it," she said. "The conversation," I said, because I like to name the animal before it chews the chair. "Open," she placed the word on the stainless like a glass we both would hold. "Not chaos, not cruel, no one from your line, no one who signs my checks. We say it before, not after. Protection isn't affection, it's policy. We come first. Our bed is a border. Etta," her eyes took in steel salt, "the way the hood waited is sanctuary." I made the joke about being sacristan to the pass. Her mouth retired it. We signed in breath. Morning returned the isomalt like a confession. A curl lay on the tile, clear as a lie. Under black light, the crescents answered door, rail, screen, at exactly the height of intention. Behind the kick of the guard manger fridge, a clear earbud tip slept, small and proud. Camille's hair is governed by matte pins and rules. Transparent belongs to men who like their voices doubled in their own ears. His name arrived wrapped in inevitability and a media kit. Noah Cade, chef influencer, Night Bites wants after-hours access to capture the intimacy of closing. He had the handshake of a man who expects doors to translate for him. White sneakers that pronounced creative on our tile. "This kitchen is a confessional," he told his videographer, and the hood above the fryer chose not to laugh. His eyes measured the line from the alley door to the private alcove, from the camera to whatever makes a human throw a knife at a map. At home, the kettle sang like it had decided to forgive. Camille spread her fingers on our butcher block like a seating chart for an apology. "I used the word," she said. She didn't shrink. "I won't bring that into your room. Not again. Not here." "What time?" I asked, like a man who thinks clocks can launder memory. "It's not the hour that cleans it," she said, and I resented and adored the accuracy. We lived 3 weeks like citizens of a fragile country with lucid laws. She told me before. I put the bottle of light back with the other techniques that teach adults to behave. Noah filmed in a quiet way that made the air feel interviewed, then left with his praise, which costs less than beef. The room breathed. Our pact felt like a handrail someone had bolted into the right stud. Thursday keeps its own ledger. 0107 held, 5S0109 blink. 0112 flutes, the mop sink learned peppermint again. On the side camera, a silhouette paused to tie a shoelace with a posture that asked posterity to be generous. I did not call security to stage a sermon. I moved a crate with my knee and thought about salt. I told the dish pit to go home and be loved. I set my anger in the corner like a dog I didn't choose and told it to wait. It waited, badly but enough. We separated like professionals who know where the knives live. Camille took a one-bedroom over a florist where morning deliveries changed the weather. She took the singing kettle and left me our chipped mug, the kind of joke that behaves. "Hate me clean," she said. "If you can't, file me in a drawer you don't open much." "I label well," I said, and I did not have to mean anything else. Work stitched me with heat and repetition. I rewrote a prep list that tried to overpromise and forgave it. I caught a junior cook burning garlic and made him smell the difference between attention and apology. A couple at table 12 argued with their eyes while their mouths agreed about wine. I sent an extra oyster and let the ocean decide who would speak first. The hood hummed its benediction over all of it. She came at 02:38 with a pelican case and a braid stabbed through with a pencil. Nor, fermentation consultant, the kind of woman who can make grains weep and salt change its mind, smelled like clean vinegar and rain that never touches the ground. On her left middle finger, a pale crescent scar curved like a comma where a jar once remembered to be glass at the wrong time. She pressed her ear to a stubborn compressor on the dry-age cabinet and drummed the back of her fingernail against steel until the small fan confessed its laziness. "Respect, not force," she told the machine. The machine decided to be better. "Everything worth keeping," I said, angling my headlamp where she would have asked if she were careless. When she took the driver, our fingers grazed, and the electricity went the correct direction. Our first kiss happened in the proofing room, where the world smells like bread thinking slowly. We killed the overheads for inspection, honest enough, and left the little observation light glowing, a small patient moon. Nor set her palm flat on my sternum with the exactness of someone checking a thermometer because you told her you wanted it medium rare. I put my mouth under her ear, where breath has the good sense to negotiate for language, and the rack stayed upright while we tilted. She kept her eyes open, not a dare, a gratitude. My hand found the side of her throat, hello, not proof. We stepped back before any logger could learn our names. We laughed like people who count things for a living and chose not to count this. With Nor, precision wore warmth like a jacket cut to the shoulders. She likes my thumb resting over the pulse inside her wrist and my refusal to rush even when the sous chef thinks the world ends at midnight. She will slide astride my lap in the tiny glass office off dry storage, blind down, monitors sleeping, the kitchen breathing beyond us, and draw with a fingernail on my forearm the path from koji to miso to liquid umami, turning a body into a process you don't teach in school. We made rules the room could bless, not at the pass, not where a camera remembers better than we mean to, yes in the proofing room, yes in the walk-in with the fan like a soft sermon, yes under the alley's steel fire escape where the night forgets to judge. If you came for revenge dressed like justice, I will waste your appetite. I could have printed logs and circled crescents and walked them into the GM's office where policy gets to wear a robe. I could have taught Noah Cade the difference between allowed and welcome. I could have made Camille learn how rooms remember things you wish they wouldn't. But a restaurant is a sanctuary for other people's hunger. The woman who sits alone at table 4 with a cocktail and a grief she doesn't want to name needs the light to stay kind. The dishwasher who hums to the plates needs the room to agree that work and dignity can share a sink. Nor prefers me smelling like lemon oil and patience, not victory. Camille and I learned a new grammar. She kept the contract to stage our Midnight Messie fundraiser because she's excellent and I am not small. Sometimes she texts me a photo of Basil pretending to be a forest on a windowsill. I send back a still from camera 2 at 4:05. Empty pass, one heat lamp like a halo lost its head. Proud of you, she wrote the night I caught a server before a hard fall, not with hands but with a quiet, and made gravity believe it had been misinformed. I let the words land. They had fewer teeth than before. Noah still appeared when attention wanted to feed itself. We crossed by the alley door. He lifted 2 fingers in a salute men get from shows about other men. "Night makes kitchens sexy," he said to me like a line that had bought him a house. "Night makes them honest," I said. "We keep it that way." He smiled the smile of a man who mistakes composure for permission, and let the door close without learning anything. Nights went back to honest. A cook pressed his forehead to his wrist on the line and remembered his body before finishing the plate. I gave him a water and no speech. A delivery driver brought me strawberries that tasted like late June in a month that wasn't. I paid him, then sent him home with soup because the cold had started to narrate his bones. The hood hummed. The ovens forgot anger. The past forgave. Sometimes I wake on the narrow cot in my office at an hour the clock refuses to label. If Noor's shin lies heavy across my thigh like a comma exactly where the sentence needed breath, I set my hand along her throat and wait for the small, certain lift that means yes. The difference between an ending and a finish has a temperature. My palm reads it better than my mouth. Months after the bottle of light went back with the other classroom tricks, the foundation hosted Night Knife, a gala that launders generosity into recipes. I wore black because black forgives uplighting. Camille stood under a tamed rig, hair shorter in the way decisions sometimes are. "Is she gentle?" she asked without saying nor, because we finally learned how to offer names like gifts, not like weapons. "She's exact," I said. "It's my religion's word for good, tenderness with a manual." "Be kind," she said, "not a blessing, an instruction." We touched glasses of water because water keeps your hands honest and the champagne had other work. Near the raw bar, Noah told a small orbit of donors that restaurants are mirrors for appetite, and that night is when truth salts itself. They tipped him with attention he had already priced. Let him keep it. I had a walk-in to lock, a list to rewrite, a woman to meet in a room that smells like bread remembering why. Kitchens don't do morals. They do temperatures and knife rolls and 1,000 small rituals designed to keep strangers from breaking each other against their own hunger. To the new line cook who will slide into my office at an unkind hour with eyes too awake and ask what to do with the part of the job that can't live on a prep list, I will say what I say to myself when the pass offers me a stage for my pride. Log it, breathe, decide. Keep the sanctuary sacred. Don't let the kitchen carry your grievance. Keep evidence if you must. Refuse the robe. Remember the woman at table 4. She won't wait for you to forgive anyone before she needs the light to stay beautiful. Before dawn, I take the last round like a hymn learned with feet. I run my palm along the cool edge of the pass like I'm petting an old patient dog. All green, I tell the empty room, which is another way of speaking from the place behind my ribs. The small LEDs give their small, honest truths. I silence what should sleep. I turn a key, the whole profession folded into one faithful click, and step into the proofing room. Sometimes Noor is already there, pencil stabbed into her braid, smelling like clean vinegar and sleep. She sets her palm on my sternum like a tech trusting her meter. I put my mouth under her ear where breath makes the only language worth speaking. I keep the only oath I took without paperwork. Sanctuaries are built, not found. Love is a prep list you revise and initial. I won't use this pass to plate revenge. If the log coughs again at 0107, I will see it. I will choose a drawer, the one with powder or the one where patience sleeps, neat as folded towels. Lately I open, look close, and choose patience. It looks good on steel. It holds me upright. And when the first baker's knock taps the back door and the city decides it can stand breakfast, I go back to the pass with salt on my tongue, Noor's hand in mine, and the quiet certainty that tonight I carried the truth at the right heat.